A wounded man and a pigeon are trapped on a reef while a shark keeps circling them in the water. Suddenly, a man emerges from the sea begging for help, but he is powerless to save him. He can only watch as the shark drags the man underwater. Within moments, the entire sea turns dark red. Time jumps forward. A surfer named May comes out of the water and discovers a dead whale on the shore. Realizing danger might be nearby, she quickly turns back. But before she can react, a massive wave hits her, throwing her off her surfboard and dragging her deep into the ocean. She struggles to stay afloat, but a shark attacks and pulls her underwater. Blood instantly clouds the water. Desperate, May somehow kicks free and swims upward. She sees the shark circling behind her, following the trail of her blood. Right before it reaches her, she grabs onto a nearby rock and manages to climb up. Blood pours down her thigh as she tries to keep her grip. From the rock, she spots two people on the shore and calls for help, but they don't hear her. Then, the dead whale suddenly moves. A wave crashes, and she realizes the engines inside the whale carcass are still active. A boat rushes by, but it's much too far to reach her. She turns around and finds a floating log, but as she tries to grab it, a huge wave slams the whale carcass into her rock. She dives into the water just in time as the whale flips over. She fights through the rough current and manages to climb back onto the reef, but the injured pigeon nearby keeps flapping helplessly, adding stress to her situation. Her leg pain becomes unbearable. A wave hits, reopening the wound. She quickly bandages it with torn pieces of her clothing. Then she removes her shirt to wrap the remaining cuts. All she can do now is conserve her energy and pray for rescue. Night falls. The temperature drops sharply. Shivering, she puts her clothes back on to keep warm. Her wound begins bleeding again. She tears off one sleeve, leaving it for the injured pigeon to use as shelter. In the morning, she spots her surfboard drifting nearby. She quietly slips into the water to grab it, but her wound attracts the shark again. She's forced to retreat back to the rock. Later, she sees a man lying on the beach. Using all her strength, she calls out to him. He eventually wakes up, but instead of helping, he mocks her. He tells her to hand him her phone so he can call for help. But once he gets close, he steals cash from her bag and even tries to take her surfboard. May shouts that there's a shark in the water, but he ignores her. As expected, the moment he grabs the board, the shark attacks him. He climbs onto the board thinking he's safe, but the shark flips him into the sea again. The next morning, May wakes to screaming. The same man from yesterday had returned with a friend. Ignoring May's warnings, they jump into the water. Within seconds, they vanish beneath the waves. They resurface briefly, gasping. Then a shark bursts out of the water, dragging one of them under. The other man panics and tries to swim toward May's rock. May reaches out to him, but he's too heavy and he slips from her grasp. He disappears underwater and does not rise again. The sun rises high, making May dizzy. She shields herself with her surfboard, but the heat only worsens her condition. Her injured leg keeps bleeding. Suddenly, she sees the pigeon still alive beside her. Then she notices her helmet. Maybe it can float like a message bottle. Calculating the shark's usual circling time, she dives into the water and grabs it before the shark returns. She records a desperate video message inside the helmet and sends it drifting toward the open sea. Hours later, a swarm of jellyfish floats nearby. May swims carefully, terrified of getting stung. She spots the buoy she was aiming for, but right as she grabs it, a rotten handle breaks and she falls back into the ocean. The shark rushes toward her. She quickly throws a piece of equipment to distract it and climbs back onto the buoy. Just then, a fishing boat appears in the distance. May fires a flare, but it doesn't go high enough. She fires another, still too low. Her last 3 flares finally launch upward, but by then the boat has already sailed off. Despair fills her again. Meanwhile, a young boy finds the helmet washed ashore. Curious, he opens it and discovers May's recorded plea for help. He rushes home to get help. Back on the buoy, May's blood drips into the water. The shark returns, more aggressive than before. It slams into the buoy repeatedly. She notices the whale carcass drifting nearby. An idea strikes her. She fires a flare into the whale's oil-soaked body. It bursts into flames, distracting the shark. But the shark is smart. It dives underwater, circling back for another attack. The buoy breaks. The chain snaps. The structure tilts violently, and May falls back into the water again. Just as the shark charges, May spots a metal pole poking from the seabed. She grabs it, braces herself, and uses it to launch upward. She wraps her torn clothes around the chain to slow the bleeding. Her final chance. The shark lunges. She drives the broken chain into its mouth. The ocean reddens, and everything goes silent. When May wakes up, waves have pushed her to shore. She coughs out seawater. Next to her, the pigeon has also survived. She finally exhales in relief. Years later, the scar on her thigh is still visible. But once again, she picks up her surfboard because some wounds fade, but courage remains.